This is the House of Andrea. I'm Andrea Lee Matthews, an artist, photographer, and clairvoyant medium. And in this podcast, we explore what it really means to thrive as a soul having a human experience. How to connect with our energy, transcend those edges and boundaries that we create for ourselves, and open to the full spectrum of who we are. If you're ready to see yourself differently, to sense more deeply, and to expand into more of who you are, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the House of Andrea. This week I thought I would dive into the concept of time. Just how much can change in our lives in a blink of an eye. And I think there's such a paradox when it comes to time because we often feel like nothing in our lives is changing. Like we have such big dreams and goals and there's so many things that we want to do, even if we don't have a clear picture of what that is. We have this feeling, this knowing that we're meant to be doing something. Yet we look around in our life and we feel like nothing has changed. And it's interesting because I look back to where I was when this podcast started, which, we've been running for just over 3 months now, which is exciting. And I look at who I am and where I am in my life now, and it is so different. I feel different. The energy that surrounds me is different. The way that I view who I am, the world, my work within that world, it is fundamentally different, but on the same token, I look around and think, well, some things feel like they haven't changed. And this is the crazy duality that we need to hold, particularly when we have these big dreams and these goals that we're working towards. We need to be able to hold this duality and allow ourselves to really see and feel and sense the things that have changed. Otherwise, we get stuck in this belief that, well, nothing has changed. Everything looks the same. And I think this is a really interesting point between feeling and energy and energetics and our senses to witness that world that is beyond the physical and beyond what we see, and the very physical, tangible evidence. Because as humans and just society in general, we typically rely on the physical matter, evidential stuff to not only measure our worth, but measure our progress. If we're still living in the same place, if we're still in the same circumstances, we still have the same routines, we attribute meaning to those things. And sometimes that meaning can be, I've made it, I'm successful, I have a good life, I've progressed. Or sometimes it can mean the opposite. We assign the opposite. It's like, well, nothing has changed, so therefore I'm useless, or I'm worthless, I'm not progressing, I'm bored, boring. These types of attributes we associate with what we can see and experience physically, but there is so much more that exists beyond what we can see. So much more. And I think this is what has really changed the game for me in embracing my abilities, embracing my senses, really allowing myself to witness, believe and witness what exists beyond the physical material world. Because if I measured my worth and my progress, and I have done this in the past, but if I continued to measure my worth and my progress according to how the world looked in my physical reality day to day, I would think that I have done nothing with my life because I have the same routines. We live in the same house. We have the same types of experiences day to day. And whilst some of those are magical experiences, there is the regular mundaneness of life sometimes. We all have to pay our bills. We all have to do our taxes. We all have to take the garbage out. It can be so easy for us to just get into this pattern and into this mindset and get really down about it. Really place such heavy emphasis on who we are as people and on what we mean to the world based on these physical, tangible things. And this can lead to going down the rabbit hole of just feeling terrible. And if you're so inclined to feeling that sensation of, I need to just burn everything to the ground and flip everything on its head. Like, I cannot handle one more day of mundaneness. I cannot handle one more day of same routine and feeling like nothing is working. I can't. I can't deal with it. And that's where so many times we go through these patterns of just following along and then being like, I can't deal with this, burn it to the ground. That's it. Complete flip overnight, change everything. And my relationships and my career, move out of the house, like the whole lot, the trifecta, let's go. And I've done that so many times in my lifetime. I'm sure my family are listening to this and just chuckling their heads off, being like, yep, I think we did that like 12 or 13 times with Andy over my lifetime. And so that's why I can speak to this topic with authority, in that as soon as you start to embrace what exists in terms of progress, in terms of value, in terms of worth that exists beyond the physical, everything starts to change. And so coming back to what I was saying, about reflecting back to 6 months ago, where I was in this space of really turning everything on its head and feeling like, right, I need to completely reinvent my life. Everything I thought I knew, I don't want anymore. If I reflect back to that energetic moment in time, and then I allow myself to feel into my body as to who I am now, it is worlds apart. The level of self-love that I have for myself and my life is unbelievable. And it also feels almost unbelievable in that I know how I felt about myself back then. And it wasn't necessarily completely favorable. Like, I thought I was okay and that I had good value and that I was useful to the world, but I didn't necessarily have the same depth of self-love that I have now. Like, I was reflecting with Matt the other day. I've just had these blissful moments of late where we would be doing something, or I'd be traveling somewhere, or we'd be going to an art gallery opening, or just driving in the sunshine, or just these simple, unflashy, but deeply resonantly beautiful moments. And I just remember turning to Matt and just saying, God, I love my life. Like, I'm so grateful for the choices that I've made. I'm so grateful for the experiences that I've had, the good, the bad, the hard, because this cracking open that starts to happen when you allow everything to drop away, you allow to source your value from inside yourself rather than looking at the physical, the routine, the possessions, and attributing value to that. As soon as you allow yourself to come home and feel that, everything starts to change. And this is where you can feel this internal mechanism of up-leveling, of expansion, of transition happening within yourself without the physical reality changing. And it's really interesting because this coincides with a lot of the manifestation practices out there, which all state the manifestation comes from the inside out. It comes from the feeling and the believing and the knowing that who you are and what you want already exists. It already exists. It's just that you can't physically see it. The physical reality hasn't caught up with it yet. But the internal shifts when you start sourcing that self-love from inside yourself. And I know this sounds easier said than done, but when you are able to source that from inside yourself, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter if you wake up in the same bed, in the same house, with the same routine. The shifts in terms of, I know there is so much here for me. I know and I can feel beyond what I can see these ripple effects, these tiny little changes that are shifting in my energy, I feel them. So therefore I feel different, and I know the physical reality is just starting to catch up with me. And so coming back to the other day with this feeling of, God, I love my life. These are not words that I've ever been able to say, ever. And, there is some sadness around that, but also so much beauty in that I'm finally starting to be able to feel and sense and step into this powerful energy of this is who I am. I'm finally letting go and stripping back all of the masks, the labels, the layers of who I thought I needed to be, the contortion. All of that is starting to strip away enough now that I'm able to come back to self. And yes, it does make me sad that it's taken me so long to be able to really feel that. And you might feel that as well. Like, there can be this sense of sadness around, why has it taken us so long? Like, why has life had so many ups and downs, with those downs really feeling so resonant that they stay stuck in our aura, in our energy, in our mind? Like, why does that sadness have to stick around? Why can't we just come out of the womb? I mean, maybe some of us do. We come out of the womb and we're like, yeah, baby, every single second of this life is amazing. And of course, I 100% am sure there are beautiful humans that have that existence through their entire life. I just know for me, I didn't. I didn't have that. I had a lot of struggles with self-worth and self-esteem and body image and just conditioning and all these sorts of things that I've had to really work through. I want to use, part of me wants to say I've had to battle through, but it's not about the battle. It's about doing the work that's been required to come home from self. And whilst there is that sadness and that, well, couldn't I have, figured this out earlier? There's this huge, and this is the part that's so important that I want to share with you. There's just this huge feeling of gratitude of it doesn't matter, because I'm finally coming home to this feeling. And that's what I want to share with you, is that there is no being behind. It doesn't matter whether your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It doesn't matter. The point is that there is a point that you can come to where you feel this. And you just start to crack open who you are and are able to look around in your life and be like, I am so glad that I am who I am. I am so glad that I've been through what I've been through, because I've been able to heal those things that happened to me in this lifetime, which are always linked to other energetics, either ancestrally, past life, soul contracts, all sorts of different energies. There's this beautiful stuff that comes together to make who we are. And we can unravel all of that to come back to who we are. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. But this feeling of self-worth, it is possible for all of us. And I am just in this place now. And of course I have bad days. I still have days where I wake up and look around and be like, oh, so this is still the same. It's not quite the dream that I have yet. We're not living in this house, and we're not, associating with these people in this way yet, or, whatever it is. But this fuel, this fire, this burning, this flame that exists within me now, it's like I can feel it and I can sense it. And the more that you start coming back to just feeling the tiny little flicker or the tiny little shimmer of the heat, a little bit that's coming off that flame that exists within you, the more and more you can come back to knowing who you are. Because I was saying to Matt the other day, he and I made the choice not to have children. And we made that choice actually independently before we were back together. Because if you're not familiar with mine and Matt's story, he and I were together in our early 20s. I think I was 22, maybe around there, around 22. We dated for a couple of years and we lived together in this beautiful little share house in the outer suburbs of Melbourne. And I had a lot of depression back then, severe social anxiety, severe depression. And Matt, this beautiful soul that he was, early 20s, social butterfly, loved to be out and about, just the life of the party, and caused a lot of issues because of my social stress. I couldn't go out all the time. I didn't want to go out all the time. And being so young and a very low lack of emotional intelligence, I used to want to imprint that on him and be like, well, you stay home too. But he wanted to go out, and we just became very different people and wanted different things. And so we drifted. Now, it was a heartbreaking breakup, but, at the time it made sense. It made sense. So we parted ways. And I think at the time, the share house was being dissolved anyway. Actually, I think it had been condemned, non-livable, because part of the front of the house was falling down. But anyway, we moved out, and many, many, many years later, like 12 years later or so, we started seeing each other again, started dating again, and then eventually got together and got married, and we've been together since. But separately, during all of that time, each of us had made the decision to not have children. That children wasn't in the cards for either of us. It wasn't something that we both craved. And it's really interesting when you make a decision like that. There's freedom, but also guilt that can come with that, particularly society's expectations of women, and this idea that if you aren't birthing children, what are you doing with your life? What meaning do you hold? But making the decision not to have children, it felt right. But it can create this sense of guilt around, well, now you have time, now you have money, which is an exciting, free feeling. But I kind of started to feel extremely guilty for all of a sudden having all of this time. And with having all of that time, I'd also unconsciously created this pressure of, well, if I have all of this time and I have all these beautiful friends and my sisters who have children and just how little time they have for themselves, I had created this narrative within myself of guilt, and that I have too much time, and because I have too much time, I need to fill it with so much progress to retain a sense of value. And this is such a tricky place to end up, right? This is where this using the external, using the lifestyle, the material stuff, the tangible things that we do to equal our value is such a trap, because all of a sudden I had made this powerful decision of not wanting to have children because it didn't feel like my role. My role here is to be in service of women, of men, of us here as souls on the planet. But I didn't need to have a child to be able to do that. And that was just a feeling and an energy that came through me, and just felt like the right, powerful decision. But all of a sudden I was like, well, if I'm not going to have children, if I'm not going to be busy with the typical family lifestyle, then my material world or my physical world or my tangible outcomes need to justify that decision. They need to prove that I was deserving of making that decision, because it's like, here on this platter, look at all these other things that I have done that still give me value. It's really interesting. And I think, my mother, she loved having children. Like, she loved having children. There are some stories that my mother used to tell me about her and her mother, them sewing and singing, and it makes me emotional to think about, because they were so beautiful together. And my beautiful Nana, she passed last year, and even though it's been a year of her anniversary, there's just still some deep sadness and love, of course, love that exists there, that makes me just, still feel sad that she's no longer with us. But these stories of her and my mother and these beautiful moments, like, I remember hearing about them. I remember seeing them together. And I think at some point I'd internalized that, well, if I wasn't going to have my own children, it meant I was never going to have those moments. And so therefore I had to fill it with other things to prove that I was still deserving of being here or deserving of the value. And this heaviness and this need to either fill it with academic accolades or success or career or title or work or material things felt like, in my mind, this replacement of these maternal bonds that I was never going to experience based on my choice. And so a lot of this heaviness, this striving, this proving energy has followed me most of my life until this incredible chapter that I'm in now, where I've made these powerful decisions to let that go, to put that down, and to actually just fall in love with the energy and the soul and the humanness that exists within me. And that's why I look at my life now, and I've had these genuine moments recently where I can say, thank goodness for those decisions. Thank goodness for being able to witness the maternal bond between my mother and my grandmother, and still making an empowered choice to know that it wasn't mine. To be able to source that love for myself, within myself, for the life that I chose because I chose it. And I think this is the fundamental difference that I'm discovering, is that the power of trust, that whatever decision that we make, if it is in alignment with our soul and our yearning and our knowing and that deep internal fire, if the decision is in alignment with that, it doesn't matter what the decision is. It is the right decision. It's almost like, as we are following our soul, following that burning and that internal knowing, there are no bad decisions. And I think that's why when the sunlight hits my face now, it's like, oh, I chose to be here. I chose to have this life right now, and I followed my soul no matter what. No matter how sad it made me, no matter how much pain I had to experience and then transmute, no matter how much I had to let go of the stories of others or the lives and the experiences and expectations of others, no matter how much I felt like I wanted to grip and strain and hold on to those things and make them mine. But by letting them go, it was worth it. I am here. I am finally starting to realize how much I love the fire and the energy and the soul that exists within me. And when we do this, it's almost like comparison becomes less of a need. It becomes less of a mechanism that we rely on. And again, being vulnerable, I've spent a lot of time comparing myself to others. I think this is a common experience amongst so many of us who are women. This energy of comparison, we can really get stuck in it. And it's often because there are so many gaps in the energy, in the self-love that we have for ourselves, that we're just filling it with what's being presented by other women. We see them and we grab hold of the pieces, and instead of seeing them and looking beyond into the energy of the woman who is inside and understanding why she has what she has or why she's doing what she's doing, and then making a decision whether we want that or not, we see her and what she has and the lifestyle that she's moving through, and we feel the gap within us. And so we kind of just grab it, patchwork, grab it and shove it in ourselves and be like, well, this is what I want for myself, and I'm really annoyed that you have it because I want it, and it's not fitting inside these gaps and these holes that I have, but I really want it to, and so I'm furious, and now I'm going to compete with you. You know, like, it's just such an icky, messy energy that we can live for all of our lives. And it's not until we realize this core fundamental issue of these are just gaps that I have from my own self-love, because I've told myself I don't know who I am. I've told myself that things are hard, like all of these narratives and conditionings that I'm so used to playing that they're part of me now. Like I don't even know that they're a story because they just feel so real. But as soon as we can identify them and be like, you know what, enough. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired of living with this narrative. I'm going within to find out what is here, what is invisible, what exists beyond, and figure out what is here, this fire, this essence that exists within me. And then just let the fire rip. Let it fill all of those gaps within ourselves and just start to feel it. And it's interesting because the mind wants to get in there and be like, so what is here? What are the gaps? What's the math? What are the things that I'm missing? And where can I acquire them from yesterday? That the mind is just such an incredible processing tool that it wants to problem solve and turn this into math. But it doesn't really work like that. It's like, what is the energy here? Start with that little spark and then let it spread and discover what exists, so that we then are not trying to contort the physical reality, trying to manufacture the physical reality to feel a certain way. It's like you can just feel a certain way from the inside out. And so when I have these moments now where I'm like not doing anything spectacular, it's like going for a walk and it is so beautiful. You know those moments where you just want to cry because something is so beautiful. There's like a resonance there. There is a frequency that you see, you experience, and it starts to resonate within you, and you just have this moment of like, gosh, it's beautiful. Gosh, I'm so grateful I'm alive. Gosh, that's like, this is me. This is the stuff that I want to do with my life. These are the moments that start to become more and more apparent and more frequent, because we're allowing the frequency that exists within us, this fire, this flame, whatever language you want to put around it, this energy that exists within you, you're starting to see it outside of yourself, and all of a sudden life starts to reflect the magic within us. And that's when that feeling of, gosh, I love this. Gosh, I'm so grateful that I walked away from that. I'm so grateful that I had that experience and I had to go through the depths of myself, the dark night of my soul, to like really be able to see this right now. Like, I'm so grateful. And that's coming all the way back to the very start of what I was saying. That's when we feel 6 months down the track that things are so incredibly different, even if the physical reality hasn't changed. Because the things that I've had to transmute and overcome, that stripping back and coming back to this frequency that exists within me, to be able to be like, oh my gosh, I feel so different than 6 months ago, even although the physical reality of the house and the car and those things haven't shifted yet. It's like, I feel like I'm in a whole other timeline. This is like, there's a lot of concepts around timeline jumping, quantum shifting. You might have heard these words. These are what we're talking about. It's like going from a one state or one feeling into the next, and everything changes. And I think this also is really exciting because it sets us up to see the glimpses of what's possible, right? If we can feel completely different inside after only 6 months or even less, like I feel the shifts week on week on week, honestly. If this can move so quickly, all of a sudden we can feel excited about what's coming next. It's like, oh my gosh, if I can source this feeling in any moment and things can rapidly change, what's going to happen in the next hour and the next day and the next week and the next month? Like, things can start to radically shift in both the physical and the internal when we get into that energy of like, look how far I've come. I have the ability to do this. I have the ability to shift this. what is coming next? Rather than, I don't know, like feel the energy difference, right? What is coming next? Like 6 months ago, I felt like a different woman. Oh, how am I going to feel like in the next month, 6 months to now? Like that's amazing. Versus, yeah, but I don't know what's going to happen next month. And I don't really know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Like such different feeling between the energetic anticipation and the mind anticipation. Totally different games. And so I try now to get out of my mind and into the energy of what's coming, because this is where the rapid radical transformation happens. And I keep saying to the universe, I'm like, oh, bring me the magic, baby. Like, I am here to feel it all. I am here to feel and witness and experience the depth of love that I can have for this life, the depth of appreciation, of gratitude, of connection, of relationship. Like I am finally in a place where I'm starting to get out of my head and out of story and out of conditioning to be so present to what actually exists. Bring it to me, I'm ready. And quite often when we ask the universe, okay, bring it to me, I'm ready, the universe brings challenges. Right? It can bring us experiences that drop us back down to our knees, that ask us to resource this within ourselves, and we can get frustrated and be like, this is not what I asked for. I asked for you to bring me the magic stuff, the good stuff. Like, why am I now dealing with this depths of grief or breakdown or relationship transition or work transition or business difficulty? Like, I asked for the knees on the earth, I love my life, magic moments, and now you're giving me this. And it's like, yes, I'm giving you this because you're ready to go through this experience, to transmute and get out of the way all of this sadness and all of these beliefs and stories, so that you can feel this magic on a deeper and deeper scale, so that things can shift, so that your timeline can shift. Now is the time. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, I really am ready to shift the energy around this, start to come back to yourself, find that flame, find that energy, find the soul that exists within you, and allow that flame to start flickering up and out and agitating out the experiences and the stories that need to shift, so that you can start to see what exists here in this moment beyond the physical, beyond where you live, your financial situation, the relationships that you're in. Start to identify what exists within you beyond those things, so that that flame and that fire can start to get brighter and start to show you what's really here. Those single magic moments, those feelings of, I am so grateful because I made this decision in alignment with my soul, not based on what I thought I needed physically, not based on what I thought I needed societally. This is me and my life, and I'm making these decisions because they're in alignment with my fire, with my soul, with who I am, and allowing that to start burning brightly in you, so that you can have these moments where you're like, this is it, this is who I am, I love this, and I'm ready for more of it. And even if it takes a little bit of time for the physical to catch up, what I can tell you is that the feeling that you have when you wake up, the feeling that you have when the sunlight hits your face, or you're doing something that you're choosing to do because it makes sense for you, not based on what someone else wants, it changes the game. It changes everything, and it changes your life. So no matter what it is that you're facing right now, I hope that there's been some golden nuggets here to just help you just take a breath sometimes. That's all we need. Just like, okay, I can do this. There's something else here. Starting to move into the invisible, the unseen, the energy, start to open my senses. This is where it all changes. And so I love you. I have so much coming in this space. If you haven't joined already, jump into the channel. It is an absolute fire of a space. I'm dropping the channeled messages every single day. I also am absolutely mind-blowingly rebuilding the entire business of House of Andrea with this brand new frequency, this new energy, this new world that's being built at the moment that is coming is so exciting. I cannot wait to share it with you. It is like spiritual couture. It is next level. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's coming that I'm really excited to share with you. So make sure you tune in next week for the updates and the drops. And I love you, and I'll see you in the very next episode. If you're not in there yet and you want to get into the private Telegram space where all of these audios drop every day, as well as all the art, the conversation, and the behind the scenes, go to www.andrealeematthews.com/private podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram at Andrea Lee Matthews, and you can find more about me and all of my work at andrealeematthews.com. I'll see you in the next transmission.